This. Why? No, it's worse. Ah. Just let it go. Let it go. Hi everyone, I'm April and you're watching the Tangled Cat Speaks, and this is episode number 34. That's right, 34. This is the last Sunday of August 2018. It's gone by so quick. I'm baffled that school has started again. The temperatures are finally starting to be reasonable outside, and Christmas is starting to happen. I mean, stores are starting to put Christmas stuff out. It's crazy. It's not even September, people. Christmas stuff is out. Don't get me wrong. Now I can feel unashamed about playing Pentatonic's Christmas songs because I listen to them all year long. I mean, seriously, I'm listening to their version of Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy in June and July all year round. So now I can just, not be ashamed, and I can turn up the volume on my Pentatonic's Christmas songs. So yeah, so the year is just rolling by really, really quickly. So let's get into a little bit of knitting. I'm not going to have a lot of stuff to show you today, just because that's life. I did get the second pair of socks done. I haven't tucked in the ends yet. I put them on, each pair on individual stitch markers, and then I put the stitch markers on a progress keeper. I still have to tuck in these ends, but I've got Liliana's socks and Lydia's socks done, and they came out so good, so cute. Love it. So those are done. I've got one more pair to do, and where the heck, everything's right in front of me and I still can't find it. So let's see, I think you guys have seen this before, my little needle keeper, DPN keeper. Super cute with all the sheep. I love it so much. Oh. Of course, I had to drop something. That was my needle. I have started Mason's sock, and he's got the brown toes. His are 52 stitches around. The white ones were 48, and the orange ones were 44. The funny thing about this one, these two kind of have, just a random striping, not exactly pulling, for the both sizes, the 44 and the 48 stitches. There's not really, this one kind of looks more stripy, but not really anything significant as far as pulling is going. But this one is a little bit different because it's ending up more orange on one side and more yellow on the other. It's very fascinating what stitch counts can do. I'm getting closer to the same yarn. It's I don't know, it's crazy. Because I'm using the same needles, the same yarn, the same pattern. The only thing different is the stitch count, and it's just crazy the way that the same yarn looks a little bit different. However, it's not looking different enough for me. I am ready to be done with these socks. People, please remind me to never ever say I'm gonna make 3 pairs of socks in the same colorway ever again. I am really enjoying making them. I'm taking my time just because I don't have as much time to knit lately. Like I said, I've been working a lot of overtime because we're short-staffed, so that really cuts into my knitting time. And then sometimes when I'm home, like last night, I knew I didn't have to work this morning, so I got home, made dinner, and then I sat and vegged. I just did not have the mental energy to pick up even a simple 1x1 twisted rib sock. I didn't have the energy. So I sat and binge watched a TV show, which I'll talk about later. So I just haven't really been knitting a whole lot because I just am drained from working so much. So that's a little bit of a bummer. So that's the only reason why this is taking so long, but I am going to get these done by the end of the month. I'm going to do it. But like I said, the color is starting to bore me. It's interesting how I love how they look with the different contrasts. I love it. And like I said, I showed you last time, I did make a shawl with this color. So it's not that I dislike the color, not my favorite, but I don't dislike it. But I'm getting bored of looking at it. And I still have tons. Look at that. This is the ball that doesn't end. It's Pandia's Jewels squidgy base, and it's I would say a light fingering because it's got 490 yards, something like that. I can't remember, it's 490, 492. But that is a lot of yardage, and I'm like, oh my God, when am I going to see the light at the end of that tunnel? But my thought is I'm going to have some left, which is going to give me, and I've already jumped ahead and put a square of this in my memory blanket. We know that I like to dye yarn just for fun, just for my own projects. And I ordered some Wilton's icing or color gels. I can't remember what it's called. But I ordered those. They should be coming in, I think today actually. So what I thought was whatever I have left of this, I'm going to try over dyeing it. I found a website. They talk about over dyeing colors, certain colors, using different brands of food colorings and the different colors that they show you their base color, the original yarn, and then they show you little snippets of yarn that were dyed with each color in one brand and then each color in another brand and so on. There's several brands that they use, and they go through each color and they lay all these little snippets of over dyed yarn side by side so that you can see what each color, what each food coloring did to the original yarn. And they've got base colors of like a pumpkin-y orange, pinks, blues, greens, just different ideas on which food colorings to use to over dye another color and hopefully get something else that you'd like. It's I'm very excited to play with that, and I'm gonna have quite a bit. And if anything, this will be gosh, I haven't even weighed this because that's another thing I had to order. My scale broke. I was very, very sad. I'm very not loving the fact that my scale is broken. But I'm gonna weigh this, and I think it's probably gonna be about anywhere from 10 to 20 grams left over, I'm assuming. I'm gonna over dye it, and I should have enough for maybe some toes on another pair of socks in a completely different colorway. So we'll see. I'm not gonna get rid of this, and I'm not gonna just like throw it in a bin and never look at it again because I'm bored with it. I'm gonna play with it. I'm gonna enjoy my yarn 100% to the fullest. So that's what I plan to do. So this is the first sock of the third set. And I'm gonna stick it in this ball back into the little pouch that I was working on. Oh, hold on, I'm twisted. Into the little crocheted pouch that I was working on last week with the little scraps of what I'm assuming is cotton. I finished that. It was super quick. I think I could have done the handle better, the longer handle, because I did do one handle longer than the other. I'm not sure if I mentioned, but these two yarns here, this lavender and this variegated yarn, were a slightly thinner weight than this. This feels like maybe a sport weight. These ones felt like a fingering. But I used the same size G hook. I think that was a 4.25 millimeter. All the way around. So just to recap, I had done the base chain, and I think it was 31 stitches, and then I single crocheted 30 stitches back, and then I turned it 180 degrees, and on the other side of the chain, going backward, I did another 30 stitches, and then I just from there was continuously doing 60 stitches around in a spiral. I wasn't even joining with a slip stitch at the end of each row. I just kept going. Wherever my yarn needed to be changed because I ran out of a color, I just put it in. I didn't even care about, you know, doing it specifically at the end of a row. So I did that, and I would say this is about 5 inches, 5.5 inches tall, maybe about 3.5 inches wide. I didn't specifically measure it. But the only thing is this, because this yarn was thinner, these two, it doesn't show so much on this because it's short, but because this one got longer, it kind of stretched out after I started using it, and I had the weight of it. So I could have done this maybe half the size or at least 1/3 of the size smaller. But what I had mentioned I was going to do is sticking the longer one through, and then I've got a wrist pouch for something very small. What I've been using it for more is just like a ball pouch. That sounds so terrible. Oh, so I've just been keeping it in there, and it totally would work, like I had mentioned before, if I was using my 9-inch circular needle for my socks. It would totally fit right in there with the working yarn, and I could just save it that way. But at this point, I'm still working on DPNs, and they're a little bit long, and even in their pouch, I can get them in there just fine, you know, kind of maybe at a diagonal or something. I'm showing it on my side like I'm looking at it. I gotta show you guys. So, you know, it would fit in there, but I just haven't been putting it in there. I have been putting the ball in here and everything else in this bag, including, I've been shoving this bag in this bag. Because this has this has all my notions in it, my scissors and stitch markers and everything. So I put a bag in a bag, and then this bag I put in my purse. It's totally bagception. So that's that. I'm really enjoying the cute little, the way that the little sock pouch has worked out. I had so much fun making it and just kind of improvising, just using up some yarn and making something useful. So there's that. The other thing that I've been working on, I was having a hard time with this because I had to do this particular section 3 times and I still haven't gotten it right, and I'm just gonna move on. I'm gonna fudge it because this is my Thrive shawl by Josh Reichs-Rabinski, and I don't know what the heck I'm doing wrong. I am on section 7. Well, I just finished section 7 and it's still not exactly right. Wait a minute. Let's just drool over the colors. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. The brown is driftwood, and the pinky variegated yarn is Wendy Darling by 3 Irish Girls on their Springvale DK. Okay, so back to the issue. This last section, these are all short rows, and I ended up with 4 extra stitches. So I had to fudge those down. I had to decrease 4 stitches to get to the right stitch count so that I can move on to the next row. It still wasn't working. So I fudged after the 2 tries. I ripped it out twice. I'm not explaining this very well. I tried twice thinking it was something that I'm doing wrong. I ripped out the whole section and started over, and finally the 3rd time I still came up with those 4 extra stitches, so I gave up. I decreased 4 of them, and now I'm back to the right count, and I still had 2 more rows to go in that section, and I finished those 2 rows after fudging the 4. Now, for whatever reason, I have another 8 extra stitches according to what the pattern says I should have. I don't know where these 8 stitches are coming from. I don't know what I did wrong. I'm not pulling it out again. So I'm loving it. It's turning out fine. It looks good. It doesn't look like I've dropped anything. It doesn't look like anything's puckering up because I've got extra stitches. we'll see in the next section if it comes out okay. I don't know what is going on with that, but I'm about to change colors one last time for I'm gonna add the Wendy Darling. It's gonna be one more of these slip stitch rows. At this point I was hoping to already have gotten into the blue yarn because I'm dying to use this Midnight Blue. Dying to see it come together with the other two colors. So that has been my issue. So there was a little bit of time there where, you know, a couple of hours I was knitting and then ripping out and going crazy. But it's got to be something that I'm not reading correctly. I don't understand where I'm going wrong because everything else went smoothly. I don't know what is going on there. So there's that. And I'm going to put this back. You know, okay, this is going to be something silly. This one I was almost pretty far along in this ball. I'm not going to have a whole lot of this left because I've just got the one section of slip stitch left using this color, and then I'll be done. So I'm going to have to ball this up and put this in a bin for my DK leftovers. But I was going to say something silly that occurs to me is one of the most satisfying things when I'm knitting with a center pull cake is when you get to the point where the yarn just comes out all by itself and you're knitting. You know, at first your cake is kind of tight and you know, you start off with a little bit of yarn barf and then you still kind of got to manually pull it every couple of sections, and then after a while you start noticing that it's just coming out all on its own. I know, that's weird. I find that very satisfying. Like, yes, I don't have to pull it anymore. It's just coming out all on its own. I know. I'm sorry. That's weird. It just popped into my head. I'm a geek. So I was talking about binge watching a show earlier. It's a show that, I don't know, it just came up on my recommendations on Netflix. And for me, I've mentioned before, I don't have Wi-Fi or internet here at home, so I don't have streaming on Netflix. I still do it the old way when they first started, and I get DVDs in the mail. So anyway, because of the things that I like to watch, it recommended a show called Rain, and I believe that was a CW show. I don't even know if it's still on the air, or if the seasons have already ended. But anyway, it came up and I decided, oh, I'm going to watch that. I really am intrigued by Renaissance and, what's the other one? Elizabethan era kings and queens, all the royals, and the nonsense that they got up to. My goodness. So I started watching this. This show centers around the story of Mary, Queen of Scots, and her time in France when she was married to King Francis, whose mother was Catherine de Medici. And I've always been fascinated with both those queens, Mary and Catherine. I just think they're very, very fascinating. There's some shenanigans going on there. And yes, the show is way not historically correct. Sometimes I'm like, what are they even talking about? That intellectual part of me is just like, this is so not historically correct. But the show itself is interesting. It's not something that I'm totally like in love with, but I enjoy it. It's good for knitting, and I don't have to totally pay attention. I can get up and go do something in the kitchen while it's on and not feel like I missed something crazy important. So that's what I've been watching. And what it made me do yesterday, I ended up spending about an hour and a half at the library because I had some things that I needed to return, and I ended up going over to the nonfiction and looking up more stuff about Catherine and Mary, because I just find those two queens super interesting. Don't get me wrong, Elizabeth was pretty interesting in and of herself, but I've read a lot about her already. And I've only read a little bit about Catherine and Mary, but I was always fascinated by it. So watching this silly show has made me want to delve more into those two queens. So that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm watching right now. I mentioned a while back that I had won a knitting pattern from the Mean Girls Knits podcast. On the Ravelry page, they had done a contest. I happened to win that, and thank you again for that pattern. I can't speak today, sorry. It's the That 70s Tee, and I'll put the name here with the designer. And I talked about a little bit about the yarn that I wanted to use. And so yesterday, I decided to go ahead and cake it all up, cake up all the yarn that I wanted to use for that, so that I can get started in January, because I'm assuming that my Thrive shawl in my booga bag. I love my booga bag. I keep showing it because I love this so much. The colors I love so much. But, you know, as soon as I'm done with my Thrive, I am going to start on my That 70s Tee. So this is the color. It's the Raven colorway on the Knit Picks Stroll Tonal. Beautiful deep purples and burgundies. Oh my god, it's so pretty. That's going to be for the cuff, and I believe that the yoke area and the sleeves are going to be using that color. And it's also going to be striped. It's supposed to, there's a color, the sweater is supposed to be one color all the way down, but I don't have enough of one color to use, so I am going to do a kind of a fade. So the first color that I'm going to start with is this tiny little ball. This will end up in the yoke and the sleeves, because they're supposed to be short sleeves. But this is Pandia's Jewels Snug Base, and this was Sarah Stone. Oh, look at that. Pinks. It's very delicate pinks and so pretty. This one was one of the ones I used in my Impressionist shawl. So then the next color after that is also on the Snug Base, and this is Tiny Dancer. So it's a pale baby pink with some specks of blacks and some other dark pinks. So that's going to come next. And then, excuse me, after that, dang it, I can't remember the name of this one. Rose Hips and Teacups or something like that. I'll have to put it, I'll put the names all up here, but this is the next color. And it is a bit of a jump from this one, because this one doesn't really have a whole lot of baby pinks. It's more burgundies, but it does have a little bit of the blacks in it. And then if I get that far and if I run out of yarn before the end, I'm also going to throw in the rest of the Sands of Time colorway, also used in the Impressionist shawl. This one I find so fascinating because it's got the pinks and burgundies, and then it's got these splashes of gold. I love it. So those are the 4 colors that are going to be faded. Let's see if I can hold these up without dropping them. Down the body of the sweater. Super, super excited. So I got it all caked up. I've got a free needle. I didn't even have to like take something off of a needle to have a free needle, because I have done that where I'm like, oh, I want to start something new and I need those needles, so I'll put another work in progress on a stitch holder. I've got many, many whips on stitch holders because I needed that needle, that particular needle. But this time I did not need to do that. I had the needle that that was recommended, and I can't see this. It's so dark in here. I think it's a size 5, a US 5. So I've got my needle, I've got my yarn, and I am shoving it all in my Renegade bag. I love this so much. This bag makes me happy. I got it off of Redbubble from the designer who drew this picture. She had used I believe it was colored pencils, and her name is Kathy Washburn Bunn, and on Redbubble she's known as McCathlin, and I'll put it up here. She does beautiful artwork, and I have never met her in person. She's one of the friends that I made on Twitter in the Pentatonics fandom. So she does a lot of beautiful artwork, and I saw this and I knew I needed this as a bag. So that's what that sweater is going to be, that 70s tee is hiding in. That's really about it. I don't have a lot else to show right now. I did finish Evil Under the Sun, and I gotta go to the library in a couple of days to go pick up The Whispering, which is the next book by Sarah Rain in her ghost story haunted house series. So I'm still waiting for that. The next book we're reading for Agatha Christie in the Delicious Death group on Ravelry is it just left my head. But that one's waiting for me at the library too. So I'll go pick those up probably tomorrow or Tuesday whenever I get a chance to head down there. I am reading a book by Antonia Fraser. I am so scatterbrained right now, but it's a biography about Mary Queen of Scots, and I think that's what it's called, is Mary Queen of Scots, but it's by Antonia Fraser, and I'm listening to that on audio, and I usually only listen to that when I'm driving, but it's 25 hours long. I'm kind of glad it's on audio and it's not this big giant book, but it's cool. Like I said, watching that show Rain has really gotten me into wanting to learn more about Mary Queen of Scots and Catherine de Medici. So I'm listening to that in my car. And then the other thing that I'm reading, I was again in my library, and in the free cart, I am so drawn to that cart. Whenever I walk out, I don't mean to, I don't deliberately say, oh, let's go see what's in the free cart. It's just I'm walking out and it's right there, and then I'm like, sometimes I'll actually even walk past it and head to the doors, and then I'll stop myself and go back. That free cart has a lot of stuff in it, and this particular time, I'm still into ghost stories for whatever reason at this particular moment. I got this one, and I got two others that I didn't bring in here, but this is the one that I started reading until I can get my other books. And this one I think is like preteen. It's geared towards preteens. The Old Willis Place by Mary Downing Hahn, and it says it right there. It's a ghost story. So I just started it. It's really cool. I like that these young adult books are faster paced. They don't delve so much into a whole lot of backstory. They kind of they go really fast. It's really fast reading for me, so I enjoy it. I think I like all different types of books. It just depends on the mood. I'm not necessarily a biography reader, but right now I'm not really into history a whole lot, but for some reason that whole kings and queens back in the day kind of thing really just intrigues me. I think I mentioned a while back that the whole King Arthur saga is something that I find very, very fascinating. So it just depends. I wouldn't say that I'm into any one particular genre of books. I won't even say that I don't like romance, because I think I showed you before that I do like the gothic romances. They're more like mystery romances, but and even though I'm in love with everything that Agatha Christie does, I wouldn't say that mysteries are my 100% thing, because there are some mysteries that I just don't really get into. The more graphic things are, as far as sex or violence, I'm probably not going to read it. But I do have like a wide range of things that I do like. I like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and I kind of rotate from time to time. So right now, that's what I'm doing. I really do need to get going because my son was having car issues and his car ended up in the shop, and we're gonna go pick that up in a few minutes. So I gotta go get him and take him on over there. So I hope that you all have a wonderful Sunday. Thank you so much for visiting with me and listening to me ramble. For whatever reason, I was very scattered. I do apologize for that. I think it's because I know I gotta go. But thank you for joining me this morning, and I hope that you have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time. Have a good day. Bye. Ooh. Too low, I gotta fix it 'cause it's too damn low.